So let us solve the question number 10, which says that let R be a ring with unit such that A square is equal to A for all A belongs to R. Then which of the following statements is not necessarily true? So we have to find out the wrong statement. Okay, the statement says that AB is equal to minus of BM. First one, for all AB belongs to R. Second statement says that A equal to minus A for all A belongs to R. The third statement says that R is commutative, and fourth one says that R equal to R is a 2-point set 0 and 1. Okay. If you have gone through the exercise of schema, it's a known question to you, right? It is in a exercise of schema. Okay, let me start the solution. Okay, it says that R be a ring with unit and A squared is equal to A for all A belongs to R, right? A squared is equal to A for all A belongs to R. Okay, now let us choose A belongs to R. If A belongs to R, then as R is a ring, then I can say that A plus A is again belongs to R. Okay, no doubt. Now A plus A belongs to R, and this result hold for all A belongs to R. So this result also hold for A plus A. Hence I can write A plus A square is equal to A plus A, right? So I can say this A plus A into, or A plus A composition A plus A equal to A plus A. So this is nothing but A square plus A square plus A square plus A square is equal to A plus A. And using this result, I can write this A in place of A square. So I am writing A plus A plus A plus A is equal to A plus A. As R is a ring, hence I can say that R plus is a commutative group. Hence left and right cancellation law holds for addition. So by cancelling left and right, I can write A plus A is equal to 0. So I can write A equal to minus A. So option B is true. Option B is true. I have to find out the wrong option. Okay, so option B is not our required option. Okay, the next question, the option A says that AB is equal to minus of BA. Okay, for this I am starting with A plus B with into A plus B. So this is nothing but A plus B whole square. So A plus B whole square is equal to A plus B by the given condition. So multiplying this, I can write S A into A plus A into B plus B into A plus B into B is equal to A plus B. So A square plus AB plus BA plus B square is equal to A plus B. Now using this property again, I can write A in place of A square and B in place of B square. So I can write it A plus AB plus BA plus B is equal to A plus B. Again using left and right cancellation law, I am cancelling out A and B. So I am writing AB plus BA is equal to 0. So I can write AB is equal to minus BA. So again option A is true. So this is not our required option. Now observe that for any element A, from this I can say that A equal to minus A. So I also can say that B equal to minus B. So putting B in place of minus B, I can write AB is equal to BA, and it will imply R is commutative also. So option C is also true. So option D is our required correct option. Okay, that's all about the question number 10. Now let us solve the question number 11. Question number 11 says that S be the non-empty set and PS be the power set of X. Okay, define a binary operation symmetric difference on PS by asymmetric difference between B equal to A minus B minus A union B intersection A union B minus A intersection B for all AB belongs to R. Which of the following statement is true? It is again I exercise in schema. So let us solve the question. So they are saying that S equals to power set of X S, and we have to check that whether power set of X with symmetric difference of a binary operation is forms a group or not. Okay, so let us take two sets. Let A comma B belongs to power set of X, S. Okay. If AB belongs to power set of X, then what is asymmetric difference between B? Asymmetric difference between B means A union B minus B union B intersection A intersection B, right? Now A union B is a subset of S. As A and B are subset of S, then A union B is again a subset of S. A intersection B is again a subset of S. Their minus is again a subset of S. So this belongs to power set of S. So power set of S is closed with respect to symmetric difference. We know that symmetric difference is associative. It is associative. Okay, what is the identity? Can you guess that? Okay, let me show you that. Asymmetric difference between phi. Phi is a subset of S. So I can say that phi belongs to PS. Now asymmetric difference between phi, it is nothing but A union phi minus A intersection phi. So this is equal to A union phi is A intersection phi is phi. So A minus phi, this is nothing but phi, A. So asymmetric difference between phi is equal to A, and similarly phi symmetric difference between A is again A. For all A belongs to power set of S, and hence I can say that phi is the identity element. Okay, let us take the inverse. So for this, let us take an element from PS. Let us choose A belongs to power set of S. Okay, now if A belongs to power set of S, I can say that complement of A again belongs to power set of S. A complement again belongs to power set of S. Now what is the symmetric difference between A? Symmetric difference between A complement. This is nothing but A union A complement minus okay, I don't need A complement, just a second, let me erase it, let me remove it. First of all, let us check what is A symmetric difference between A. So this is nothing but A union A minus A intersection A. What is A union A? A union A is nothing but A. A intersection A is again nothing but A. So this is A minus A. A minus A is equal to phi. Hence I can say that A is its own inverse. So each element of power set of S is its own inverse. So each element has inverse, I can say that. So therefore power set of S with respect to symmetric difference forms a group, and symmetric difference is, we know that symmetric difference is again commutative. So it forms a abelian group or commutative group. So let us see the options. So not associative, this is wrong, this is again wrong, this is correct, this is wrong. Okay, option C is our correct option. That's all about the question number 11. Let us solve the question number 12. Okay, question number 12 says that let I1 and I2 be two ideals of a commutative ring R. Define I1 plus I2 equal to A plus B such that A belongs to I1 and B belongs to I2. Which of the following statements is not necessarily true? So we have to find out the wrong statement. Okay, so option A says that I1 and I1 plus I2 is again ideal. Option B says that I1 subset of I1 plus I2. Option C says that mod of I1 plus I2 is equal to mod of I1 plus mod of I2 if R is finite. And option C says that mod of I1 plus I2 is equal to mod of I1 into mod of I2 provided I1 intersection I2 is equal to the zero element or identity element. Okay, now observe that it is given to us that first of all I am going to discuss the option A. I is an ideal of R. Okay, I1 is an ideal of R, I2 is an ideal of R. Then both of them has the same identity element, which is the identity element of R with respect to addition. I am saying that 0 is the identity element, and so 0 belongs to I1 as always 0 belongs to I2, and this is the only identity element of I1 and I2. Okay, so I am saying that 0 plus 0 is belongs to I1 plus I2, therefore I1 plus I2 is non-empty. Now let us take 2 points from I1 plus I2. Let x comma y belongs to I1 plus I2. Then x is equal to x1 plus x2. So y is of the form y1 plus y2, where x1 y1 belongs to I and x2 y2 I1 and x2 y2 belongs to I2. Now what is x minus y? X minus y is equal to x1 plus x2 minus y1 plus y2. So this is nothing but x1 plus x2 minus y1 minus y2. Now as R is a ring, I know that R plus is a commutative group, so addition is I can commute addition with x1 and x2 and y1. So I can write it x1 minus y1 plus x2 minus y2. Now you can see that x1 belongs to I and y1 belongs to I, and x1 belongs to I1 and y1 belongs to I1, and I1 is an ideal. So I can say that x1 minus y1 belongs to I1, x2 belongs to I2, y2 belongs to I2, and I2 is again an ideal. So I can say that this belongs to I1 and this belongs to I2, and hence this belongs to I1 plus I2. Okay. Now let us take a point R from R and need to multiply R with x. So this is nothing but R with y1 plus y2, x1 plus x2. Multiplying, it will become rx1 plus rx2. Now I1 is an ideal and x1 belongs to I, and hence rx1 belongs to I, x2 belongs to I2, and I2 is again an ideal. So I can say that rx2 belongs to I2, and this belongs to I1, this belongs to I2. It will imply this belongs to I1 plus I2, and hence I1 plus I2 is an ideal. So option A is correct option. So this is not our required. We have to find the false option. Now option 2 says that let A belongs to I2. Now as I1 and I2 has the same identity element, I can write A equal to A plus 0. So this belongs to I1 plus I2. So I1 is a subset of I1 plus I2. So option 2 is also correct. Hence this is not our required option. Now let us talk about option number C. Option number C says I1 plus I2 mod is equal to mod of I1 plus mod of I2. So they are talking about the cardinality of I1 plus I2. Cardinality of I1 plus I2 is equal to mod of I1 plus mod of I2. Okay. Now consider R equal to Z6. Okay. Z6 is a ring. We know that. Okay. I am considering I1 is equal to 2Z. Not 2Z. This is 0 bar, 2 bar, 4 bar. Okay. I am considering I2 is equal to 0 bar, 3 bar. Okay. Then I1 and I2 both are ideals. You can check it. Both I1 and I2 is an ideal. Then what is I1 plus I2? I1 plus I2, you can see that 2 belongs to I1 and 3 belongs to I2. So 2 bar plus 3 bar belongs to I1 plus I2. Hence I can say that 5 bar belongs to I1 plus I2. If 5 bar belongs to I1 plus I2, then 5 bar inverse is equal to minus 1 bar belongs to I1 plus I2, and it will imply 1 bar belongs to I1 plus I2, and it will imply I1 plus I2 is equal to our Z6, and hence mod of I1 plus I2 is equal to 6. Now what is mod of I1? Mod of I1 is equal to 3. Mod of I2 is equal to 2. So this is nothing but 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So this is our wrong option. So for this question, this is our required option. So option C is our correct option. Now it's all about the question number 12. Let us solve the question number 13. Okay, question number 13 says that if I be an ideal of a commutative ring R, define root I equal to all such A belongs to R such that there exists n greater or equal to 1 such that A to the power n belongs to I. Okay. So all such A belongs to R such that A to the power some natural number belongs to I. Then they says that root I is an ideal, root I is not an ideal, root I equal to I, and root I is a subset of I. Okay, let us start the solution. First of all, it is given that root I equal to all such A belongs to R such that there exists n greater or equal to 1 such that A to the power n belongs to I. Okay. Now we have to check root I is an ideal or not. Now as R is a ring, then 0 belongs to R. This is 0 to the power 1. Hence I can say that 0 belongs to root I and root I is non-empty. Okay. Now let us take 2 points. Let a comma b belongs to root I. It means a to the power n belongs to I for some n, and a to the power m belongs to I for some m. Now we have to check whether a minus b belongs to root I or not. A minus b belongs to root I is if a minus b to the power something belongs to I. Okay. So a minus b, I am starting with a minus b whole to the power. You can see that a minus b to the power I n just a minute, this is not a to the power n, this is b to the power n belongs to b to the power m belongs to I. Okay. Now we have to check whether a minus b belongs to I or not. Now a minus b belongs to I if a minus b to the power something belongs to I, right? A minus b belongs to root I if a minus b to the power something belongs to I. So you can see that as a to the power n belongs to I, b to the power m belongs to I am starting with a to the power m plus n. Okay. So what you can do, you can use the binomial expansion. Actually, if you multiply a minus b whole to the power a minus b m plus n times, and as the ring is commutative, so here binomial expansion is true. Hence I can say that the first term will be a to the power m plus n, the second term will be m plus n c1, a to the power m plus n minus 1, and b to the power 1, and it goes so on. Okay. After some stage it will be m plus n c m minus 1 a to the power n plus 1 b to the power a to the power n plus 1 b to the power a to the power n minus 1. I am considering n is smaller than m, so this is a to the power m plus 1, and b to the power this is equal to n minus 1. Okay. And then m plus n c m n b to the power a to the power m b to the power n. Then the term will become m plus n c m plus 1 b to the power m minus 1 and a to the power m minus 1 and b to the power n plus 1 dot dot b to the power n. Now you can see that a to the power m plus 1 belongs to I. Why? As a to the power m belongs to I and I is an ideal, then any multiplication of a to the power m belongs to I. Here you can see that a to the power m again belongs to I, so any multiplication of a to the power m is belongs to I, so this belongs to R, as I am saying that a to the power m belongs to I. Okay. And a to the power n minus 1 b n plus 1 n plus m c 1, these are all the elements of R. I am saying that this is a belongs to R. So as I is an ideal, then I can say that R this into this belongs to I, so this term belongs to I. So till to this term belongs to I, as the power of a is m plus 1, hence I can write it as a to the power m into something, so this is a multiple of a to the power m, and here a to the power m and b to the power n both belongs to I, so this belongs to I, and from this you can see that the a to the power s power is m minus 1, hence I can say that it may not be belongs to I, as a to the power m belongs to I, but you can see that b to the power from this term already b to the power n belongs to m. Okay, so as b to the power m belongs to n, hence I can write that this term belongs to n, and so this belongs to I. So a minus b whole to the power m plus m or n is belongs to I. Now let R belongs to R and A belongs to I, so it will be so I have to find out R into A belongs to I, so I am considering R into A is whole to the power n. Okay, as this is commutative ring, so I can write it as R to the power n into A to the power n, and you can see that A to the power n belongs to I, so I can write it belongs to I. Hence this is an ideal. So root I is an ideal. So option A is our correct option. Option B false. Option C false. Option D false. Actually the relation between I and root I is smaller than root I. Okay. This all about the question number 13. Now let us solve the question number 14. Now question number 14 says that how many non-isomorphic group are there of order 15. Let me, it is too small to understand, just a second. Okay, how many non-isomorphic group are there of order 15. So I have to find the non-isomorphic group of order 15. Now we know that for any n there exists at least one cyclic group of order n, that is Zn. So there is a group of order Zn. Okay, Z15. So there exists at least one group of order 15 which is cyclic. Now if we can write, we know that, what do we know? Let G be a group of order PQ, where P and Q are prime and Q less than P, and if Q does not divide P minus 1, then G must be cyclic. G must be cyclic. You can check this result in M.K. Sen, Abstract Algebra, M.K. Sen. Fundamental. The name of the book is Fundamentals of Abstract Algebra by M.K. Sen. This result is there. So I am going to use this result. So Q divide. Now I am splitting 15 as 3 into 5. You can see that 3 is less than 5 and 3 and 5 are prime. Now, and 3 does not divide 5 minus 1. Hence I can say that any group of order 15 is cyclic. And there exists only one cyclic group of order 15, that is Z15. So up to isomorphism there exists only one group. So option A is our correct option.